Check those.
Really?
No, I already decided my most.
Oh,
I would very much like that. We'll see.
just sitting there.
Yeah, I quite say I was. Let me just like slightly.
Make sure the screen is good.
Oh, we're gonna start. We're doc. Oh, we're documents. How can one be? Sorry. Increase the small tax on your cards.
Katie taught us how to disclose on or use like Word doc to send it.
I also have a guide on my hair. It's no Word doc. Sorry about that. Good now. I just got it. Everyone's ready. My time will begin now. We need seamless port ratio booties being SMO and the ports are not custom 24 explain the Djibouti terminals of established Djibouti handling time 10 accurate than Berber and now but it's Scotia 21 port from index for Djibouti most efficient port in Africa with competition 10 by small ways going head to there now small and cannot build infrastructure without recognition under 24 after international recognition implications development the region not able to access international financial markets to make a difference among the built infrastructure from realizes Berber and kills Djibouti grade 11 infrastructure non-functional state minister repair rehabilitation port Berber would encourage given business Djibouti but Berber remains uncompetitive right now sun reduction port range structure government revenue Djibouti state collapse rate 22 bonus from economic shock Djibouti continues to deep decline Djibouti could actually so cravable for the reality could chase the neighbors consider port development and another could actually cut the rent streets report from support from political elites to triggers international drawings Djibouti's tiny area reform powers of folks from 2022 America Chinese Japan French and others ordered to be sent throughout the small states only as regional powers and two great powers proximity resulting in Djibouti turning into a proving ground in this scenario and forces have debased Djibouti may found themselves supporting different sides and great tension states right now great power war because nuclear intelligence team has the odds of going nuclear very high China has nuclear intertwined with their conventional military making an attack one without attacking the other and US military targeting China's financial forces striking Chinese leaders using nuclear weapons while they still are able to nuclear force generate pressure to escalate this strong cause 16 clear 23 2023. A great power action mission to escalate tensions, cause the leaders to fight out negotiating nuclear weapons will be used today, family causing winter, reducing, resilience to extinction, to terrorism. Australia is weakened right now. Government 24 with the small army has liberated the daytime, making significant advances for government enforcement the region to operate, contempt skills against Al-Shabaab more permanently and independence of the dividing issue small that could fuel Al-Shabaab recording us all nine. Pro independence was concentrated in the dominant other clans, and the dominant Isaac clan other peoples are more divided with some still very united Somalia with 124 small Al-Shabaab is filled to establish the most small due to the effective community-based counterterrorism operation. However, political clan faction with Somaliland grew, there's a risk Al-Shabaab will find ways to exploit them just as had in Somalia independently. Clan wars fuel terrorism, hundreds of 124 fighting between Somaliland clan visitor and the instability conflict exploited by Al-Shabaab. Moreover, took the mediation through Ethiopia to remain in Somalia, but it's contingent on not reckoning Somaliland. Somali 24 has Somalia Ethiopia reached a final agreement that just demands Somali secure recognition to territorial uniqueness. Somalia confirmed Ethiopia to remain empirically denied that Port Real recognized Somalia and spike recruitment and take cooperation. Card 24. Port Deal is amplified Al-Shabaab like the reform militants, and the Port Deal also fractured Ethiopian Somali counterterrorism cooperation, impact instabilities. News and Chum 22 by that Somali terrorist attacks are threats to government instability, limiting the capacity of the government, and Michael 18 that fails states are big shares humanitarian crisis that endanger regime stability, neighboring states instability from state collapse, causing great power drawn. MI 24 is a conflict number. Fred states actually considered water essential for security. US, China, EU, military presence in the region. Iran and Russia enter the afraid the region becomes a battleground. Disrupting trade and reviving extreme security crisis. Sandwich and claim from C1 goes nuclear and causes extinction, serious instability. African Union facilitating unprecedented growth, giving the confidence of diplomatic voice right all 24. African Union shows both domestic international legitimacy, several events improving the ability of the African Union to negotiate diplomatic initiatives, so leadership in the global importance as well. As a result, the AU's leadership of African nations enjoyed unprecedented long-term stability. Estimate 23. Over the past 5 decades, about 3 violent conflicts have actually occurred. The community developed conflict management mechanisms. However, Africa spread sector movements across Africa by 24. British Somaliland conservatives and President Trump now the groups push for independence, triggering on money Somalia region, Sudan, Ethiopia, Djibouti, and Eritrea, creating fertile grounds for sex movements, grow the project proxy conflicts, and lead to widespread insecurity, joining in other actions and intensifying conflicts worldwide. Independently, that forced Somalian invasion in 2024. Somalia's reactions grew in the perception of success to bring back Somaliland back by recognizing Somaliland, and they're willing to go to war against Somaliland in this scenario and affirming all sparks civil war due to clan dynamics during the conflict by 2024. With a strong opposition, many Somalians against recognition of power struggle between the clans because clans oppose recognition because they know translate aid to the government, which is controlled by the Isaac clan. The field to the EU will allow the Isaac clan to dominate other clans, increasing anxieties in the region, leading to civil war. Moreover, the autonomous region of Puntland will also start war over tail disputes Muhammad 19. Somaliland and Puntland clash with their respective formations, and Somaliland claims Sul and Song and Puntland. However, the political administration, both the Somalian independence and Red Line, didn't want to cross this conflict would escalate. Men's 9 finds that. Somaliland's conflict with Puntland might escalate to an actual war. Outright recognition is an extremely delicate issue and may set a dangerous precedent for all scenarios. Causes Emily from C2 on great power drawn from instability in the region, and Tamage and Cliff from C1 on Wagos nuclear causing extinction.
I was anxious. You just like file, download, and like it's like extra. Should be sad. Anything that's crossed out is a big red.
Anything that's crossed out is a big red. Cool. Sounds good.
We're going to join his vaccine prices are surging back actually truly for new military Montesina and Somali prices were surged dramatically. New parts are not capable of attacks by also from Somalia's coastline and exacerbated by reduced security measures. Somaliland acts resources and international international ships for Fire 24. Countries ship in and out of various missions. Somalia has maritime with limited resources. International recognition depends on the EU Letter 18. The UN and various donors indicated that Somalians encouraged changes upon the African Union after Africa's training weaponry Council 11. In Somalia, now recognition from States for providing training weaponry and intel, Pacific 14. We recognize Somalian establishment of border controls and enter various intelligence schemes that assist by safeguarding initiatives to Monteke 10 if the EU can recognize Somalia to excel strengthen incentives for the movement of Somaliland to reduce pirates as well and forces regional security tests. Only 24. Somalian recognition would enable Somalia to use leverage strategic location created with an African mutual interest, reducing tensions and fostering collaborative approaches to security. Otherwise, piracy combats current economic issues. CRS 24. Then the attacks in the Gulf of added a significant turn for compounding checkpoints challenges the global economy. COVID, Russia's war conflict in the Middle East, and cause state collapse. Sudan, Tribune 17 without Somalians projecting their developmental. The oil take months to cause disruptions, global meltdowns, global meltdown, economies collapse, cause great power. We're going to trade for the next crisis will be different from the previous year. Central banks are in debt, raising rates that trigger America's reserve currency collapse. Revisionist powers may soon jockey for leadership and instability and risk of nuclear wars. And stable supply chains escalate great power. Economy 16 supply chains diminish the conflict. Market integration turns mutual destruction, forces leaders to calculate supply chain warfare, containing them at local levels rather than allowing them to spill over. Contentious use Turkey. Trump will revitalize U.S.-Turkey relations on the Syrian crisis plan of 24. Erdogan encouraged to rally direct negotiations, have similar diplomacy, and merge long-standing disagreements under Trump's resolution might be found concerning U.S. stance in Syria. Yet Trump desires to recognize Somaliland. Item 25. Some critical reports indicate that Trump is considering recognizing Somaliland to strengthen foothold in the region and advance American security. Recognition appears to be a matter of when, not if. This ruins relations. Psalm 25. If he takes recognition of Somaliland as a betrayal, Turkey would be upset his link in his ancient defense and oil of the Great Deal of Somalia, affirming as a multilateral and absolves the use of blame McPherson and Swift and Fraser 23. Recognizing the line needs not be determined to the U.S. liaising closely with the AU to be prior to any unilateral recognition would respect the regional concerns to protect the U.S. and the EU countries on board Paris 24. The OEU is international organizations to be seen as facilitating collective and deliver recognition states as they seek to influence other members. Friendly relations with Turkey are critical to negotiating with the U.S. withdrawal from Syria. Gone 24 under Trump. A resolution may be found concerning Syria leading to withdrawal. Trump wants to withdraw without allowing Iran to gain influence. Work with Turkey's Trump's strategy towards maximum pressure policy in Iran will be crucial for regional stability. Absent withdrawal, Syria will rely with Russian escalation follows. Summit and land is 25. Relationship to no longer as present. A person need to maintain its military presence. Maintaining the scope can be dangerous if the new government wants to challenge continued U.S. friends. Coordinate Syrian authorities might seek Russian escalation follows. Escalation draws in Iran and Russia. Hopping 24. Russia and Tehran will try to maintain influence inside post-Assad Syria. Washington should have raised hands up for American military substitutes Egypt to prepare for war with Tehran. C3 is AU survival. AU use mediation as in support of our regional institutions to stop conflict. Around 24. They use vital settling disputes and demonstrate by the Nile River and Liberian conflict settlement. The group is more funding channels. The AU works with the regional economic communities, promoting communication among parties and promotes stability over the longer the African Union encounters obstacles in resolving disputes because of a lack of political will, but lack of AU credibility hurts enforcement. Economists 22 member states see limited value and have no trust. The EU has little to enforce its decisions, and AU recognition of Somaliland solves for all conflicts in Kahin 24. The AU concluded that Somaliland satisfies the requirements of stated, but however, the EU is taking no steps on this, undermining its credibility. Somaliland engages diplomatically partners into the UAE member of the understanding with Ethiopia. Somaliland has demonstrated its ability to govern the AU. Recognition of the alignment of EU's principles of promoting peace, human rights, and promote stability. Also, the EU needs to mediate conflict over Somaliland independence. McPherson 23. Concurrence from the AU on the recognition of Somaliland would factor in regional concerns, attack refugees, nuance of conservatives, rallying, which encourages the state Schwartz 23. Somalia and Somalia emerge stronger. Talks with assist with the regional issues. The EU has managed to mediate peace and can compel Somalia to negotiate. Otherwise, I'll be treated with the region already wrecked by the war in Sudan conflict. Drawing the United States and China, European nations have already military presence. Turkey and Iran have lately entered the fray. Quickly because of battlefields with global powers. East Africa's vital international security conflict is nuclear causes extinction. Declare 23. Accidents and misunderstandings spread escalates conflict causes leaders to fight rather than negotiate. Nuclear weapons could be used with a famine, causes a winter, and causes extinction. Yes.
Let's see one on piracy. What's the link on supply chains? It's like mine explaining it.
Wait, yeah, the argument is just that when Somaliland creates strong, stable supply chains, ones that it's also integrated into in the affirmative, that deters conflict from occurring because of economic deterrence. Can I take a question?
What's the time frame on those being built?
We'd say it's immediate because our links are immediate as well. Can I take a question?
How can an entire supply chain be built overnight?
Well, it's not that the entire supply chain is built overnight, but the fact that Somaliland is able to combat piracy quickly means immediately after the affirmative, we see those supply chains being forged, and even the risk of these supply chains being forged, them being marginally forged, is probably enough deterrence in the region. Can I take a question?
Sure.
Okay. What's the warrant for AU legitimacy being high on your like C3?
A few warrants. One, just the global initiative it's taking. The second warrant, which is more important,
Wait, what does
is that
what global initiatives?
it's just talking about it in the first card, but more importantly, it's like another two things. One, the legitimacy of people actually looking towards the AU internationally, and the third thing is there have been few violent conflicts since AU mediation's grown in this world.
Wait, can I take a really quick follow-up?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about some of those conflict mediations? Because as far as I know, there's a massive civil war in Sudan, Ethiopia, Africa's pretty much in
Kenya,
conflict.
it's South Kenya.
Sure.
I'll take a question.
Yeah.
Let's go into your argument regarding AU survival.
Yeah.
Does this conflict scenario just like happen? Like there's no conflict going on that you're referencing. So like when is like
Wait.
what conflict are we solving for? Because your ELMI evidence just says that if instability grew within the region, but you don't read a card that instability is high right now.
Wait. No, our evidence indicates at the top the AU has been key to mediating conflicts. The fact that it can't mediate conflicts right now is the link. There are conflicts in Africa. It's pretty intuitive.
Wait, briefly. Your evidence that says they're able to is from 2024, and the evidence that says they can't is from 2022. So if the newer evidence says they can right now, why don't we look into that first?
Sure, we'd say that the warrant is specifically that the lack of recognition of Somaliland has been exacerbated in recent times, plus the tensions are uniquely at a brink right now, which is why conflict is uniquely more likely today than it was in the past, which is why this is
Okay, what card name is that? Or
like Elmi isolates why the conflict is more likely right now. The other cards explain how conflict in Africa has
like
been
Schwartz
in the
21.
past. Maybe, I'm not quite sure exactly what you're referencing.
Well, like I'm just reading your evidence. I don't see where specifically it's like isolating a conflict right now. That's like
Wait, it's not. Wait.
Like the only card that's specific
Yeah.
to Somaliland is the Schwartz evidence.
Yeah. Like that's the point, right? Somaliland is the specific reason. Somaliland is a specific reason that AU legitimacy is down. That's why it's the only one that isolates Somaliland. Obviously, the rest of the conflicts that are happening right now are ones that the AU could resolve. Can I
Okay,
take
you
a
have a
question?
question. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about like terror, or let's talk about like clan wars. What piece of evidence is the uniqueness that like clan wars or civil conflict is down right now? Because you guys just read that there are like some divides, but there's no evidence that says
There's
clan wars
no
are down.
major clan war where 4 clans are fighting against
What
the
piece of
Isaac clan.
evidence says that?
It's just like unless you read a counterfactual, we'd say our evidence is saying it's stable overall right now is fine.
What piece of evidence says it's stable overall?
Says the Horn of Africa is stable overall. Is the
What about civil war in Somalia?
Usman as well.
Cool. We'll take running props. That was 1 minute. Probably will be a bunch of analytics that aren't on the doc. I'll slow down. Okay. Let me know when you guys receive the doc. Start this.
Got it.
On piracy, first piracy is decreasing. Dynamo 24. Data shows that piracy started throughout to the last 30 years for the first 9 months of 2024, thanks to both collateral naval operations, improved ships, the ship's security practices, and enhanced navigation. The piracy should improved. But second, recent bumps of piracy will stay limited. Trapper 24. Piracy will be due to multinational counter piracy structures conducting frequent patrols. The shipping industry is prepared to face pursuing piracy activity as commercial vessels now more commonly deploy armed guards and the land of hijacking attempts. But on the link, first term, Somaliland only fights piracy to make the case for independence. Phillips and Hastings 18. Somalilanders articulated piracy out of their independence discourse. Somalilanders who support independence are attempted to define their territory within Somaliland. They experience piracy is not part of the real Somaliland and maintain a discursively constructive link. But second, the AF causes Egyptian backlash, destroy trade. 1824. Egypt's birthday imposed diplomatic and economic blockade on Somaliland. Recognition disrupt Egypt's strategic interests. Fragmentation of Somalia would weaken Egypt's control. Somalia the direct threat of Egypt's hegemony. The blockade imposed by Egypt would exacerbate vulnerabilities and restriction of maritime access with devastating effect on Somaliland's economy. It lacks alternative routes. But third, recognition would hurt stability. Zara to 10. Recognition of Somaliland will exacerbate the division between clans without support and independence and others seek to remain within Somalia. Beyond Somalia, the recognition of civil slope entailing separatists, igniting conflicts. Cut the card there. And no supply chain impact. Dresser 22. Closer look at change reveals the mismatch between rhetoric and actual understanding of economy. Extras are temporary critical sectors look better. Predict breakdown the claims of the supply chain rendered safe, vulnerable to weaponized interdependence proved to be wildly exaggerated. Cut the card there. On Turkey, first, the U.S. relations are really bad because we refuse to send a bunch of F-16s, and so Turkey hates us. But second, they tell you that Trump solves it doesn't matter because Trump doesn't have full. Trump can't control like Korean diplomats and all of that, which means that there's still a bunch of issues with all of that control. But third, we tell you that it doesn't. We tell you that it doesn't matter because even if Trump was to temporary operations, all of the permanent U.S. policies still change when Trump leaves office in 4 years. But fourth, we tell you that even if Trump increases it doesn't matter because Turkey still keeps asking for more. But second, the AU still perceives that the U.S. backing it because the U.S. still has a bunch of control and does the negotiations, which means that Turkey still does the things. But third, we'd also tell you that the issues with the that even if the AU does it, Turkey still gets annoyed, which means that Turkey needs a scapegoat, and they probably will use the U.S. But third, on the weighing level, you should prioritize impacts for the AU instead of the U.S. because the actor is the AU, which means that the AU needs to prioritize its own interest first. Also, on the impact, they tell you that Yeah, on the impact, they tell you that the EU gets to critical negotiating U.S. withdrawal from Syria. We tell you that it doesn't matter because the U.S. doesn't listen to Turkey anyways and other countries because the U.S. always has its own military policy, and Syria will re-ally with Russia anyways because Syria has what? On the next case. On AU credibility, first, they don't read any uniqueness. We tell you AU credibility is already really down, and the AU isn't able to do is already really up, and the AU is already doing things. But second, the act actually destroys AU legitimacy because it violates Article 4 of the AU Constitutive Act. Jabril 24. Recognition would trigger diplomatic changes. This could challenge long-standing principles. Consequences will likely extend beyond the Horn of Africa. Africa adopted a policy representing borders drawn during colonial times. Stranded African Union Constitutive Act. Policy to prevent conflict. Recognition of secession is moving to set dangerous precedents. But then AU mediation doesn't solve all key negotiating actors which cause state exploitation of conflict. Case 23. Whether these negotiations successful also often depend on the actors themselves. The organization do so fail by bringing the wrong actors to even neglecting civil and non-state actors only provide a platform but actual perpetrators of violence. This short circuits their conflict mitigation offense conflict only end because of the press state scope what they want to negotiate people and always in scope instead of more aggressive actions by states to cause more frequent and longer conflict and second it compounds the number of hotspots the EU has to address causing cascading violence. But then credibility goes down anyways. It doesn't matter if it satisfies the requirements. It's perceptual. The other countries still think that it doesn't. But second, it causes more tension to the AU, which means the AU has less functional diplomatic capital because other countries they think that Somaliland shouldn't be recognized.
No mark everything.
I will start that. Yeah, actually, I think it's fine. I'm just great. Okay. Is it ready? The second one that I sent was a .docx.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. That'll be our case. On piracy, they say piracy is decreasing, but their evidence is from February, and their evidence is not specific to Somalia, whereas ours is they say that piracy will stay limited, but they've conceded our part of the Cheney evidence that the private sector is decreasing their counter-piracy measures, which is why it's increasing, and it doesn't stay limited. They say that the current incentives for counter-piracy are the prospect of recognition, but there's so many reasons incentives still exist in the Afro, like nationalism and the fact that most countries want to be the most powerful and stable out of all of its neighbors. They say that Egypt does a blockade, but this literally doesn't do anything. There's no implication, even if blockade Somaliland, it doesn't stop counter-piracy measures or global trade. They say that the app increases instability. All addresses on their case. They say that it prevents, there's no supply chain harm because the private sector keeps strong measures. But again, our Sugar evidence that post states their response to the maritime industry is decreasing counter-piracy measures will concede the defense on Turkey on AU. They say that the AU credibility is up right now, but our evidence is a year more recent and finds that it's decreasing right now because they aren't recognizing Somalia. And they say the app violates the Constitutive Act, but if the app restores colonial borders, it clearly doesn't. They say that the AU brings the wrong actors to the table, but that's because legitimacy is down right now. They're reading uniqueness evidence for us. Post-Afghan countries have legitimacy for the EU. That's when they can bring the right actors to the table and negotiate with them. They say there's all causes for AU credibility being low, but our evidence finds that it solves back for only all causes because the reason all causes are decreasing AU credibility is because it tells countries that the AU isn't committed to stability, which the app resolves. They say that the app increases tensions. There's no more or evidence on that argument. Our evidence post-states theirs and finds countries want the app on their case. On ports, first, there's Shupani evidence on Somaliland being posted pre-COVID. Second, their EDON evidence concedes our link on security. They can't read responses to our link without conceding theirs. Their Brady evidence is also horrible. It's saying post 2008 infrastructure is bad. It's 2024. The port is modernized now. Media said Sassy 23. The port of Berbera has been modernized and redeveloped. The port aims to become an important transshipment hub, converges the interests of Somalia and Ethiopia and the UAE. It's characterized by the geopolitical engagement by major Gulf powers like China, Russia, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. Their Brady evidence literally says the IMF economic stuff is happening right now, and their Borwick's evidence recounts that the port was only bad because of COVID, but not that a loss of the port triggers economic collapse. Their Denali evidence says that great powers get drawn into inter-ethnic conflict. There's no internal link as to how the app actually gets there on terror. First, piracy links and it fuels Al-Shabaab TRT World 24. Al-Shabaab offers protection to pirates in exchange for a significant kind of ransom. The agreement enables Al-Shabaab to access funds crucial for recruitment and weapons vital for sustaining its activities and promoting other Al-Qaeda affiliates. But second, Al-Shabaab is growing right now in power. Help can't stall. Robinson 24. Al-Shabaab is stronger than perceived in a position to achieve success. The AU mission has failed. The Somali government might fail to Al-Shabaab even with African troop contingents in the region. This evidence post-states theirs by so many months. Skip the next card. Second, turn the argument. The app lets the West use naval presence to social under 21. Given Somalia's location at the crossroads of Africa and the Middle East, recognizing Somaliland assistance consistent with the imperatives driving global counterterrorism recognition give the West expanded influence over 900 additional kilometers of coastline and a key transit zone of the Arab Peninsula. Skip the next two turns. On recruitment, fighting between Somaliland's government and people who want to reunite is already happening. And Al-Shabaab is capitalizing. There's no bright line as to why recruitment increases. Recruitment from the school or bright line is down. Marginal recruitment triggers their impact onto the world. I'll address this on their C3 on Ethiopia tensions from the MOU or because of Ethiopia's unilateral recognition. The app isn't that. Doesn't make sense that Somalia randomly lashes out at Ethiopia on their impact. None of their evidence as terror actually leads to a failed state. Also, their only evidence is about conflict, not refugee crisis. That's their internal link to instability on instability. Our evidence post states their evidence by a year and finds the AU credibility is low. This turns all conflict scenarios because mediation works post-staff, and even if their uniqueness is precedent overwhelms their link. If the AU can do mediation right now, none of their conflict scenarios happen. All their uniqueness evidence is unspecific and talking about conflict in Africa not coming. All of our uniqueness evidence is way more specific and finds conflicts already happening right now. On to session first. Separatism doesn't cascade. Forsberg 13. New data and empirical analysis finds no evidence of dominant effects. Operating groups are not more predisposed to pursuing violent conflict when other groups are successful in their separatist demands. Cut the card there. Second secessionism is up now. Kinsbury 17. There are hundreds of secessionist movements. Philippines, India, Myanmar, and Africa are high risks on civil war. First civil conflicts already happening. Ho 21 intense fighting broke out in the southern Sinai region. The conflict follows previous clashes in Laos and on Somalia. Conflicts already coming with Ethiopia right now. UW 24 Ethiopia's text to local actors in Somalia increase the risk of armed proxy conflict right now on Puntland. Their misfit evidence literally says war is coming now and will escalate, but second, their Mahmoud evidence doesn't say the app even starts conflict.
Yeah, I'm for a couple.
Oh, I don't know.
Cool. Ready for cross. Actually, Michael, you want to take that? Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you mind if I take first question?
No, go ahead.
Let's talk about your response to terror.
Sure.
Your first response is that Al-Shabaab operates stuff for pirates, which means that your piracy case is a link into our case. Doesn't this flow the other way around?
Wait,
because
no,
if
the
Al-Shabaab
evidence finds that Al-Shabaab has a deal with pirates, that the pirates are going to get ransom money and give it to Al-Shabaab, which is the route for all of their funding for weapons and recruitment and stuff like that. Like, it literally says all of the funding that Al-Shabaab has to do recruitment and weapons is coming from pirates.
But hold on. But we'd tell you that Al-Shabaab has a lot of these sources, but what your evidence concludes is that the most important thing for the pirates is that Al-Shabaab is offering them protection.
I just explained that my evidence says that all the funding they need for recruitment and weapons is coming from pirates right now.
Okay, we'll dispute this.
I'll take a question. All right, so if your impact evidence on terrorism says conflict draws in great powers, but your internal link says regional instability as a result of refugee crises, how does that lead to conflict that draws in great powers?
So what you miss is that our ALMI evidence finds that state collapse causes great power involvement, and the Michael evidence finds
the line of the ALMI evidence that says state collapse?
Sure. Let me get the case doc out. Or actually, Michael, can I just get it? Okay. Yeah. So it's just instability generally causes the issues.
Wait, no. The first line says that conflict is what triggers instability and draws in great powers. How is a refugee crisis conflict?
Sorry? No. We'd tell you that it's just instability. Here, I'll just read it. I'll just read out the line.
Okay, wait, still, explain to me how a refugee crisis suddenly becomes a huge problem for the US, China, and Russia, and they start to get involved.
Yeah. So so the line is that Michael 18 finds that failed states are the biggest generators of
and then where does your
crisis.
evidence before that even say that terrorism actually causes a failed state?
It says that terrorist attacks are threats to the government and its stability, limiting the capacity of the government. We tell you that can I finish, please? We argue that if the government fails, that is equivalent to the state failing, because if the state doesn't have a government.
I didn't hear any line in that evidence that actually says the word state collapse. I just heard that it causes some government instability.
Government instability is the same thing as state collapse.
And all the arguments you are making aren't supported by your evidence.
No, we tell you that government instability is the same thing as state collapse, because if the government is unstable, that means that there's a really good chance that it will collapse, because that's what the definition of instability is.
I don't also see the words of really good chance of state collapse as a result of government instability. That's the implication we're making.
Hold on. What you're not understanding is the analysis is that if a government is unstable, by definition, an unstable government is one that isn't stable, which means that it has a good chance of collapsing.
Not true. I could say that the U.S. government is unstable right now. That doesn't mean
we tell you that wouldn't be true, because unstable means that the government has a good chance of collapsing. But that's cross.
All right.
I place right there, please. Everyone good. Brigadier Al-Shabaab may be around by now this weekend as a result of the smallest operation round the first link is clan recruitment independence is dividing issue. Few Al-Shabaab recruitment included the clan division within the country. The second is clan war. They completely conceded independent clan wars, terrorism against instabilities exported by Al-Shabaab. Third is Ethiopian troops turning mediation into Ethiopian troops within the region. However, the MOU proves that recognition resulted in Somalia kicking out Ethiopian troops that caused instabilities, failed states, centering humanitarian crisis, create instability within the region and conflicts between different groups, and that causes state collapse, causing great power junks. They perceive the area is very important for security measures. Dual use goes nuclear. China's conventional weapons are mixed with their actual military ones, and that causes unfortunately mostly escalating, causing extinction through nuclear winter. At that point, go to the responses first. They say piracy links in. No, their evidence is Al-Shabaab's the root cause of it. The evidence is terrible. Then they say Al-Shabaab's up over and all. They're just talking about one operation. We'd say on net's after better, and their evidence not accounting for the Ethiopian troops that were recently added back in. That's on net better. And our evidence actually talks about that. But and it's also saying it's big gains for now on the term that AFME's a more naval use. There's no warrant given why this is key to actually solving terrorism. We say land stability is more important, which actually Ethiopia's solving for right now on the thing that there's fighting up right now, meaning there's already clan divisions. No, our evidence finds that the counterterrorism within the community is on net up right now. That can be deconstructed. There's clan division within the region. Their evidence does not account for that. On Ethiopia is dumb, no, just an empiric showing by in the past it causes reckoning, and that's one country recognizing. So if it causes it on a small scale, then it's going to be way greater when the entire AU doesn't. Then the terror not causing conflict. I explained this in the impact extension is going to cause instability due to humanitarian crisis, which causes conflict between different groups. And that causes the GBC poem because they perceive the Red Sea is very important. At that point, there's nothing else. Go to my debate. One. We'll link into older scenarios. Terror is the root cause of all instability within this region. So if we win our terrorism argument, we win any conflict scenario they talk about in their case, and their own evidence says terrorism fuels piracy. So that's an independent link into that. Moreover, we have magnitude. We also have time to get the second year firm. They can fuel the different terrorism stuff and different links. They're immediately going to kick out the Ethiopian troops. On the contrary, their argument takes a long time to put the measures in, such as the economic stuff to actually make it into the different counter piracy stuff. And other argument on AU legitimacy, it still takes a while for the documents to be stuff and AU mediation that go on. There's different conversations that have to happen. Also, we have probability because empirically the MOU proof stuff was kicked out. Then go to their case. On piracy, top shelf, you're extending to turning Egypt backlash. They mishandled it. Egypt's gonna backlash because they mad that Somaliland gets recognized, and they're gonna cause an entire thing to be a blockade of Somaliland. That also links into their economy scenario because if they can access any of the port stuff and stuff like that, that's an independent link for why piracy also feel in their world. But we'll also extend the thing that Somali's only fight for independence. They say there's other reasons such as nationalism. No, we'd say that that's the only reason why they're trying to get independence right now. But when you recognize them, they have less things. They're gonna focus less on the piracy issue. More importantly, right when they're recognized, that should always come first. And always that magnitude. Then it's empirically true. Then. Piracy is low right now. Like, we'll just go for the warrant that there's been recent bumps are limited right now. They say no, their evidence is better. No, if recent bumps are limited right now, it's a good trajectory for the future. Should we forget what our evidence talks about? Go to AU survival. Extending the AU's up right now. Their evidence from 2022. We read evidence from 2023. Should we prefer that they just say no? It's down overall right now. Their evidence posted. No, look at their evidence from 2022 and the evidence that say illumination is important from 2024. That should we prefer, but also extend the turn that it violates Article 4. They say which hurts legitimacy overall. They say always can be preferred to the neo-colonialist borders, but insofar as the neo-colonialist borders, the actual ones that Italy had is the initial thing in Somaliland. That's what actually important means. It still violates Article 4.
going to be our case, weighing their weighing their case. Yeah. Everyone good? We're going for piracy, increased operational capacity, reduce security measures that result in disruption of piracy in the Gulf of Aden, and permanently state international recognition for less countries, bilaterally with Somalian trading and weapon results, regional intelligence to stop piracy, otherwise piracy in the Gulf of Aden, increasing shipping costs and inflation that triggers global economic loss that results in the loss of American dollar hegemony. This encourages revisionist powers that results in hegemonic transition wars that involve nuclear weapons that lead to nuclear war and the extinction due to famine caused by radiation. Okay. On this argument, they extend a couple things, but none of them make much sense. First, they tell you that their turn on only for independence makes sense. They literally, it's completely throwing. They concede a Norris Front line of rebuttal that there are a million different alternate causes that countries have to maintain piracy. For example, they want to remain the most stable and most powerful in comparison to neighbors. It's literally all through ink. Then, on the second turn about Egypt, they've also conceded, or they misunderstand the Norris Front line. It just says that no blockade can prevent Somaliland from accessing a port that it literally owns. It doesn't make sense. If Somaliland owns a port, Egypt cannot blockade it. They've also conceded that. Egypt blockades its own ports, which prevents Somaliland from getting broader access, but doesn't prevent Somaliland from accessing its own port, which is the only thing that we need a link on. But also, they have conceded that Egypt blockading doesn't actually cause the economic crisis because only Somaliland loses access, not the entire world. Okay. That's also on the Article 4 turn, it's not weighed. You probably can't weigh it in first summary, but also the colonial border being reestablished is the one that the UK created first. The real colonial border is the one that Somaliland had initially. Go to the way. Okay. On terror, they tell you that their terror is the root cause of everything. No, that's definitely not true. Terror is not the root cause of anything, and you're probably winning it better on time frame because it takes time for terrorist attacks to happen, for recruitment to happen, and for them to build up a base. There's no time frame in any of their evidence that actually isolates when a terror attack is coming. Whereas our evidence is a brink argument, like stable supply chains are right now, but they're about to collapse. That is the reason that you affirm to make sure they're stable. That is the best argument on time frame because the second, you're literally just affirming me that you maintain stability. Okay. Also, on the root cause argument, literally, please read the evidence. It does not talk about how piracy is does not talk about how terror is the root cause of piracy. It's saying there's a mutual relationship where terrorists are getting money from ransom from pirates, but it specifically isolates that the root cause, the reason that terrorists have any money at all, is from pirates. It doesn't say that pirates are 100% dependent on terrorists, but what it does say is that terrorists are 100% dependent on pirates, which is why our link is way better. Read the evidence. Go to their case. Okay, go to their case. On their first remember that piracy is high right now, and they conceded that our evidence posted their evidence by a year, and their evidence is literally just one guy talking about how our terrorists losing control in one country is indicative of the terrorists. Our evidence posted that and found it was not actually indicative, and the terror is actually high right now. Then and it's higher than generally perceived, which is probably also an indict to their evidence. Okay, then they said okay. What am I reading? Okay, also they conceded civil conflict is coming right now, so they don't have so they conceded civil conflict is coming right now, so they probably don't have a link, and they've conceded that Ethiopia was unilaterally they conceded that Ethiopia was unilateral, and the AU is already AU is multilateral, which is why there's a completely different scenario. Also, they have literally no internal link. There's nothing in the evidence that says anything different from instability to state collapse.
Let's go. Let's go to the evidence. You send an email chain on piracy causing terror. What?
Yeah.
So, what's the warrant the card gives?
The card gives the warrant that Al-Shabaab gets ransom payments forced from pirates in exchange for supplying them with certain weapons. But what the evidence specifically isolates, what I mentioned in my summary, is it specifically word for word says Al-Shabaab accesses funds crucial for recruitment and weapons, vital for sustaining its activities and supporting other Al-Qaeda affiliates. The difference here is, sure, they have a mutual relationship, but the evidence isolates that it's more important for Al-Shabaab than it is for piracy, which is why our link is better.
But your evidence literally verbatim says the only reason why piracy is going to be powerful is because
but Al-Shabaab is way more dependent on piracy.
This collaboration is further referenced by pirates wielding advanced weaponry possibly acquired through Al-Shabaab's weapons smuggling network. So the weapons they actually do all the piracy with is through Al-Shabaab. You guys just conveniently do not highlight this part.
It's literally saying that a fraction of the weapons they use come from Al-Shabaab, and it says
Where's it saying fraction?
This literally doesn't matter because sure, they have a mutual relationship. Nobody is contesting that. Wait, hold on.
The mutual relationship, you're acting like the mutual is 50-50. That's what.
It's definitely acting like the mutual. Wait, hold on. Let me just like be really clear. Everyone can look at the evidence.
Yes.
It is talking about the mutual relationship. Now, what we are isolating is that the last line in the card, the part that is highlighted, says specifically, it is vital for sustaining Al-Shabaab's activities for recruitment and other Al-Qaeda initiatives. Our argument from the beginning of the rap is
vital?
vital is literally
vital for
by
sustaining its activities and supporting Al-Qaeda affiliates. Not to mention,
Wait,
the line that talks about the help to piracy literally
Sure.
says Al-Shabaab possibly helps
briefly, briefly, I'd say that if pirates don't have weapons, they're not able to jump on ships and then have the
if they're not
power
gonna
they
have
have.
100%
Like the way piracy works is they'll see a big cargo ship, they'll go in a smaller boat, they'll hook a ladder up to it, bring the weapons on board, and then that's how they get the ransom money.
Okay, we can.
Like that's the
We'll take
thing.
a
But
question.
yeah,
We'll
you
bring
guys
this
have
up.
a question.
Okay. I guess let's talk about like the weighing. What time frame does your evidence isolate like that a terrorist attack is coming?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What time frame does any of your evidence isolate that this is the time the next terrorist attack is coming? What's the time frame?
It's just if they field recruitment,
So there's
I
no
can
time
read wait, I can read the evidence, but
Is there a
more
time
so-
frame in the evidence?
it's just that recruitment's the root cause of it. There's not necessarily a time frame, but the
Okay,
second but the second instant like mass recruitment, which what our evidence
Yeah,
saying, and no Ethiopian troops, which you guys concede. If there's no Ethiopian troops, there's
So,
nothing fighting terrorism in
there's
the region.
That's a whole lot of implications you're
Wait,
making.
no,
that
this
there's
is not
no
implication.
evidence
If there's no, the only things fighting terrorism right now is Ethiopian troops. Those immediately get removed when there's even
Sure, we're not
conversations
talking
about
how long
the
it takes for you to
That's
investigate
considered.
Cool. The order of my speech will be my case, weighing, then their case. Is everybody good?
Extent terror verifies that Al-Shabaab might be around, but it's definitely weak in independency. If it's visited enough to fuel Al-Shabaab recruitment community counter-terror efforts are succeeding right now. Independent cameras fuel terror because of instability and Turkey mediation ensures Ethiopian troops stay as supporting empirically proves. The impact is instability, failed state generate humanitarian crisis, state collapse causing great power involved in dual-use powers go nuclear. Unfortunately, small strike definitely and causes a nuclear war that causes it to be too cold and too dark to grow food. At that point, they make two responses. The first is that their evidence finds that terror is really high right now. But what we tell you is that our Garo evidence finds that even if Al-Shabaab is up, it is definitely weakened, which is why you prefer our evidence first. And they also tell you that there's they don't account for the fact that Ethiopian troops are in the region, which definitely fixes all of that. Then their second thing is a cross-up of the response on regional stability that there's civil conflict. No, but we tell you that this civil conflict are minor skirmishes, which means that it doesn't really matter because the recruitment is more important because when you have actual causes like major civil war, major instability from people being divided by whether or not to be independent, that's way more important. At that point, go on to the weighing debate. Extend the prereq. Terror is the root cause of all of these issues because terror causes a bunch of instability, which causes all of the reason that people want to go into piracy and all of that. They just tell that piracy is definitely not, and they're the other way. We tell you that's definitely not true because terrorists have so many other regions and terrorist groups to get stuff from, while their evidence concedes that the only way that the pirates get stuff is from Al-Shabaab. They've also conceded our probability weighing that ours has happened in the past, but theirs hasn't. But more importantly, if you don't buy that, we tell you to go for the time frame weighing. We have the fastest time frame weighing because solving for terror is perceptual, but it's really difficult to actually get naval power in the region and all solve for all of their things. On piracy, extend that to piracy, the counter piracy decrease is supposed to happen because they don't want it. They just say that there's nationalism causing it anyways. We tell you that doesn't really matter because even if there's nationalism, it empirically doesn't work when it's independently, and you outweigh it on probability because Somalia is independent and doesn't solve piracy.
Another good question. Yeah.
It's gonna go weighing RJ's defense.
Start on the
Wang, you know what the evidence I wrote in rebuttal actually says. It says that pirates are vital to sustaining Al-Shabaab's recruitment and propaganda tactics. If that's the case, our evidence is explicit, saying that terrorists cannot survive as long as pirates are alive, but our evidence finds that only a small fraction of weapons that pirates have are actually coming from Al-Shabaab, meaning you're always airing app on the Wang. That is conceded. They say that there's this probability wing that their impact has happened before. No, Somaliland is not a state, a collapsed state because of terrorism in the past. Also, probability wing isn't even real wing. It's just an extension of defense and isn't even comparative in this round. Also, our impact evidence literally gives a warrant as to why now pirates are more likely to trigger a global economic collapse and also war now than ever. Go to. Sure. Also extend time frame. We outweigh on time frame. Our link triggers immediately because in the app world it just takes a matter of like a couple days in order for other countries to send their weaponry to help Somaliland bolster its counter piracy measures, whereas there is not a single warrant in any of their evidence as to how long it takes for a terrorist attack. Go to our case. Extend piracy. Currently piracy is increased operational capacity and reduced security measures have resulted in a surge of piracy in the Gulf of Aden, affirming leads to international recognition, which allows countries to bilaterally give Somalian training and weaponry as well as regional intel to stop piracy. Other words, piracy in the Gulf increases shipping cuts and inflation that triggers global economic collapse and results in the loss of American dollar hegemony. This encourages provisionalist powers that result in hegemonic transition wars that involve nuclear weapons leading to nuclear war and extinction due to famine caused by radiation. They try to extend this turnabout incentives, but it's just their end. They've conceded both of my front lines out of rebuttal that there's two new incentives that exist in the app world. Nationalism, and almost every single recognized state in the world has incentives to be the most powerful and stable out of all of its neighbors. Don't let them extend responses through and go to their case. Extend that evidence that postdates theirs by 7 months that finds that Al-Shabaab is on the rise more than other articles are claiming based on perception and despite regional troop contingents. They just say that it's definitely weakened right now, but they've conceded that our evidence is 7 months more recent, which is why you should definitely prefer it, but also it's factoring in all of their evidence and perception of Al-Shabaab being weakened right now and finds that all of those perceptions are false, and the evidence even explicitly states that taking into account all of contingent troop presence in the region, Al-Shabaab is still extremely strong right now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this.